Good morning, everyone. Good morning. I know some people are still trickling in, but we want to go ahead and get started. All right. Whoever's talking, stop talking. There we go. I'm Katie. I'm the general manager here at ADAC. Good morning. We are so excited to welcome you to our final day of Discover ADAC Fall Market. We've had a really fun week so far, and we have a full day of events in store for our last finale day. So thank you all for being here. Thank you. Just a reminder, we do still have copies of our event guide, so go ahead and pick up a copy so that you know about all of the events that are happening today, and hope you'll join us for all of them. We do have our Behind the Windows program going on as well, so while you're here, stop by showrooms 238 and 503 to see the Behind the Windows vignettes. That's three designers who have offices here at ADAC, designed 3 vignettes in those locations. They're beautiful, and they've used product from all over ADAC, so go check those out. A little reminder to, of course, have some fun with us on social media. We've loved seeing all the stories and the pictures that have been posted on social media the last couple of days. So keep having fun with us this last day of market. Our hashtag is DiscoverADAC. Our handle is @ADAC Atlanta, but you can find all of the showroom partners, the media partners, and our speakers' handles in this event guide. So another reason to pick up a copy of this event guide. I want to thank our partners today. Our media partner today is Modern Luxury Interiors Atlanta and the Atlantan. Our showroom partner is Philip Jeffries. Remember that after this panel presentation, we will go upstairs to the beautiful Philip Jeffries showroom in Suite 319 for a little reception. So please make sure that you save time to join us there. And with that, I'm going to turn things over to Caroline Perrott. I said it right. She's got a tricky last name, but I've had one too, so I know what that's like. That's the editor-in-chief of the Atlantan and Interiors Atlanta.
Thank you, Katie. Hey, everybody. Good morning. I am so excited to present this panel this morning. Again, my name is Caroline Perrott. I'm the editor-in-chief of Interiors Atlanta, the Atlantan, our charity and social date book, which is also out on your chairs, and our weddings magazine. We are presenting a wonderful panel titled Shine Brighter. The title was inspired by Glennda and her love of stars. But when I was coming up with the title, I was really thinking about how we could combine both real estate and interiors into kind of one conversation. So we've titled it Aligning Luxury Real Estate with Luxury Living. And when I first started this conversation with Glennda, she was talking about this amazing business venture and podcast that she's doing with her friend Tyler. And from there, it kind of snowballed into what interior designers do we love in this market and who's really making waves. And of course, we looked to Michel. So we somehow got these 3 amazing personalities in one room together, which is really a treat. So I'm going to let them introduce themselves, starting with Glennda.
Oh, my stars and stripes. I didn't realize we were going to do an introduction. My name is Glennda Baker. I am a real estate agent here in Atlanta, Georgia, and I've been selling real estate since Jesus was a baby. And, you know, y'all, do you know who Linda Evangelista is? Does anybody know who that is? Of course. Okay, so I said to Tyler, I said, you know, I feel like Linda Evangelista. And he's like, oh, that's such a specific name. And I'm like, do you not know who that is? And I'm like, how old are you?
You didn't know who that was?
No, I've been selling real estate since Jesus was a teenager, so it's just...
So Tyler and I are excited to be here. Carolyn cracks me up. She's like, you know, we wanted to talk to Glennda and Tyler. And I'm thinking to myself, you like put Jenna on the job. You know she doesn't take no for an answer. So of course we're here, right?
Of course, there was a lot of follow-up.
There was a lot of follow-up. And we have a little podcast, if you guys haven't heard it. It's called Glitter and Gay. I'm Glitter.
I was about to say I'm Glitter.
Do you think they would believe that?
Maybe.
Look at my boots.
Look at my soul.
Okay, is it his turn next?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay,
Take
go
it.
ahead. You can introduce yourself now.
Hi, everybody. I'm Tyler Whitman. I am a real estate agent in. It'll be your turn in a second.
I can't.
You do realize your mic is on.
I do. I do realize how funny you guys are.
I know.
Oh, sorry.
I feel like I can hear his eyes rolling. So I'm a real estate agent in New York City and the Hamptons And I've been on the last 2 seasons of $1 Million Listing. I do this podcast with Glennda, and
Also known as?
Glittering Gay.
Yeah, that's right.
And I am the gay one.
I'm Glitter.
That didn't know Linda Evangelista. Come on.
I do 2 things in my life. I sell houses, I ride horses. Oh, and 3, I really enjoy attention. So however I can get it on TV, on social media, and I love interior design. So really happy to be here, and that's it.
Amazing. Michelle?
This is going to be a good panel. My name is Michel SmithBoyd. I'm from here. I'm an interior designer, and I have a line of products, paintings, and I do television also. I have a show called Lux for Less that's airing in December on HGTV, and also Rock the Block in early 2023.
Amazing. All right, so now we're going to move on. I want to start the conversation talking about resale value. I think there's a lot of crossover in design and real estate, and when it comes to selling or reselling your home. So my first question for the group, which whoever wants to raise their hand and answer, they can. Resale value is tossed around a lot, but how much does it actually matter in a market like the current one that we're in?
I mean, I have very strong, in New York, both in the city and the Hamptons, homes are, mega purchases there, even if you're on the entry level of the market. And when clients reach out to me asking, what they should focus on for the resale value, I've always said this, most of these people are buying their dream homes, so you should focus on making it your dream home and enjoying it however you want to enjoy it. Staging companies are an investment in the resale, but in terms of your home should represent your personality. And I always use my home as the example. I just bought a place in Sag Harbor. It is the craziest interiors. Everybody out there is all creams. Mine is green and purple and pink.
And black.
and
black.
And my bedroom is black. I'm bold. And people walk in and everybody's like, this house feels like you. And when I go to sell it, I will have it staged. But I think the interiors, you're buying a home and every time you walk in, my house makes me feel so good when I walk in. It makes me smile. I kind of giggle at some of the choices I made, but I mean, it's so me. And so I'm definitely while you're living there, it's not a product. It's not something you need to be thinking about the market. Whenever you are going to be selling it, that's when we will transition it into a product. And that's always the conversations I'm having with my clients. We'll focus on the resale when it's time to sell it, but for now, enjoy this thing that you just spent your life savings on.
Piggybacking off of that, what area in a design perspective, if we were to be looking at resale value, what area of the home do you suggest focusing on?
Resale value? Honestly, the most dollars you'll get a return on would be in the kitchen, for sure. Kitchen and primary bathrooms, always. And I agree with Tyler about when you're living in the house, it really should reflect you, right? But in the places where you make the biggest investments, like the spaces that I just mentioned, we may not want to invest in hot pink cabinets in the kitchen. You know what I mean? Unless you're willing to change it when it's time to sell it. But our clients actually think about it throughout the course of design. And so I'm really careful about where we spend money and what we invest in. Things like wall coverings, right? That is definitely personality. But we usually choose things that are timeless, like Philip Jeffries, right? That will appeal to most people that come through the house. But it's definitely our way of adding a special layer of luxury. But it actually helps with resale too.
You guys kind of touched on this, but what are some tangible ways in which designers working with clients or even real estate agents working with their clients can make their home theirs or ours without hurting the resale value? Things like wall coverings, I'm assuming, things like that.
Well, I mean, to kind of echo what Tyler says, you have to take into consideration your taste. And I don't think that you should ever water down based on what the next person is going to want. Because the next person I mean, I think if somebody came in and bought my house, like, I would die if they took down the sparkle wallpaper. Like, I mean, but I think that when you pick things that are distinctive to yourself, it's important to be classic in the selection and not, you know, tacky.
But there's a lot of places to have fun, right?
Yeah.
Things that don't stay in the house, things that aren't permanent fixtures, like furniture,
Right.
and lighting and so forth. Those are the things that really show our client's personality off, and also can be taken right out of the room when it's time to resell. But when you're buying a house and designing, you're not thinking about the next guy. You're
No.
thinking about how your family is going to function and how your house is going to kind of meet your needs day to day.
Well, and I think that, so I painted my half bath with glitter, okay? I did a video on this, and so I had the painter, Henry, like paint, and then I threw glitter on it. I know don't die. I love the look on your face. So I threw glitter on it, and so he would paint another section, I would throw glitter, and it was iridescent, it was silver, and where's Allison? Allison's seen my glitter bathroom, and so, like, it was beautiful when we were finished with it. Granted, Henry looked like he'd been at a strip bar, but I will tell you right now, when people walked into my home, number one, they fell in love with that. And I think that people don't know, they're afraid. They're afraid of design choices. And I think as a designer, and even as an agent, you need to breathe life into people's dreams, breathe life into their vision. And don't worry about watering down for the next person, because the next person isn't living there right now. And I have to tell you, it cracks my ass up that my ex-husband gets to live in that house with my glitter bathroom. If you're watching, that was just for you. Sorry about that. Sorry, okay, go ahead.
Amazing. My last question was, what advice do you give designers trying to guide their homeowners for the future, which you kind of touched on, Glennda.
Yeah, I mean, that's the advice. I thought I answered that well.
You did, you
Okay,
did.
thanks.
All right, going on. Tyler, I crept on your Instagram and I just picked up some listings that have already sold.
Oh, so random. I was like, I know these places.
Yeah.
There's 456 West 19th, 408 East 79th. What is that one in the bottom? Oh, that was 13 Cranberry. And then, right, that's a Hamptons house that we just sold, 21 Prospect.
Amazing. Well, yes, this is why I brought these photos up, is because I kind of want you to talk about the properties. I know the New York real estate market is quite different than the Atlanta real estate market, but I think from the pandemic, we've seen people move here, and vice versa. People move out to the Hamptons permanently and things like that. Why do you think, like, having outdoor spaces, tons of lights, what do you think made these properties sell so well?
So all of these have very different stories. You know, the Hamptons market is very, very busy right now. And so, that house in the bottom corner is in a section of East Hampton, and it's like a super cute little beach house. But, that house is 2,100 square feet, and I think we paid 2.4 for it. So that is kind of indicative of the market. Now out there, the thing that's great about that house is like the kind of things that are really important to buyers are the privacy. And honestly, as much as like my house is really bold, if you're gonna use it for investment, because you can rent it out for 2 months during the summer and cover like double your annual expenses. So this house will probably for July and August rent between $40,000 and $50,000 a month. And then the rest of it, like if you do off season, a house like that is probably going to rent for like $4,000 a month during the off season. I mean, there's a huge disparity. So a lot of people will rent for like two months during the summer and then enjoy it the rest of the year. So with their interior design, a lot of them are going to go neutral beach. And that's like everything in the Hamptons. And they do it because that rents really well. Anybody can walk in and say like for 2 months, this is neutral and I love it. So that's the nice thing about that house is also really private. The landscaping was gorgeous. If you just want to be in your pool naked all day, nobody will ever see you. And honestly, that's part of the Hamptons lifestyle. I think a lot of people think it's all about the parties. It's honestly all about the privacy. So the one on the upper left corner, 456 West 19th. When I first started selling luxury, that was a building I used to walk by, and I was like, those windows. I was like, one day I have to live there. Now I've sold like half the building. Because I think as a real estate agent, when you get excited about the design and when you get it excited, there's like a different level of influence that I have when I'm showing these. And you know, my sales, and it's just a very natural thing, but when I'm training other agents, I always talk about coming from the place of a story and like how I've connected to it. And that is such an easy one for me to connect to, because I was like, you know, every time I walk by this building, it's right by all the art galleries. I mean, you can't really tell, but through that window, your view is the High Line. You know, and so it's just a really iconic place to be. You know, that was a little bit of a tougher sell, even though that one has so much wow factor. You walked in, the living room has like 18-foot ceilings, and it's incredible. But there's still challenges. We were on a low floor overlooking 10th Avenue. It was not a peaceful apartment. But the one on the bottom left was probably the busiest listing I had this year. And so you're looking at I hadn't seen it from that angle, but you're looking at that's the Perrott video. That's the Perrott video apartment.
It wasn't an apartment.
It wasn't an apartment. So that was a Brooklyn townhouse. Brooklyn townhouses are on fire right now. And it wasn't cheap. That was a $10 million house. We actually closed yesterday it was listed for 10. We closed for $9,250. You know, that house, what I loved there is so there is an architect design duo in Brooklyn, Baxton Gui. They're definitely the most prolific team in Brooklyn who handle the renovations on these historic homes. That house was built in 1829, had all the original fireplaces, all the original detailing, and then they did an amazing job modernizing everything. You know, they brought in these steel beams. The house is 25 feet wide, which probably sounds like nothing to you guys, but in Brooklyn, like that is a hot ticket. Like
25 feet wide?
25 feet wide, and it was 50 feet deep.
That's a hot ticket everywhere.
That is okay. I was like, that's big for us. I didn't know what people liked. But usually in these houses that are 25 feet wide in Brooklyn, they're usually like pretty compartmentalized. Or they've been completely stripped down and just have kind of like these white box, very like California vibes. This house was epic because they had completely opened it up, but still maintained all of the original details, the original staircases. And there was a wax seal in the stair banister where the original deed of the house was kept by the sea captain that originally lived there. And all of these things have been maintained. And those things are like the design features in these historic homes that's like where we're using the influence to get people to buy. It's like you have all of these original details. It's so much more expensive in New York to restore than it is to rip out and put something brand new in. And so if you find a house where somebody's really invested in a restoration and then also adding in modern details, the kitchen in that place, the bathroom in that place were to die for. So it was really fun to sell that.
So moving on, my next slide is talking about basically what you're speaking on. But so one of your tips would be like invest, if you want like an amazing resale value, invest in restoration, it sounds like, instead of just tear down and rebuild, unless that's what you are looking for.
If the home offers that, you know, so I think of the homes that were up there, that was the only one that really had the historical value. I think in like the townhouse life in New York City, there's a few new build townhouses and they actually sell really well. From my personal, I'm like, they almost look tacky, you know, like slid in between these like historic homes and there's like this weird glass box. And I'm like, what happened there? You know? Yeah, but if you can invest and if you can have the patience, because it has to go through landmark approvals, your architect, to get things to match it, will typically have to source and have everything custom. Like that house had these windows that had been custom built on pulley systems to match the period of the building. And it was $20,000 a window to have it done. But obviously you want new windows, but you don't want it to take away from the 1829-ness of the house. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Glennda, I'm going to kick it over to you so we can talk about our real estate market. I scounged through the internet and all I could find were videos. So I want to talk about your use of videos in the real estate market and how y'all are using it with your homeowners for resale, and just kind of what our market is looking like in comparison to that of Tyler's.
So is everybody in here like a designer? Raise your hand if you're a designer. Okay, real estate agent? Okay. So I think that video gives you a unique opportunity to curate your own narrative. Whether you're talking about the design of a house, you're talking about the story of the house when you're going to sell it, video gives you this unique opportunity to be the expert in your market. So I'm thrilled that you only found videos. When we do a listing video about a house, we really talk about the story of the house. If you've had the opportunity to see any of Tyler's videos, I loved the ship captain video because it talked a lot about as if it were him living in the house. And I think that where real estate agents and maybe even designers miss the opportunity is to talk about the story behind the house, talk about the story behind the design. What was the inspiration and what are you hoping to be the impact? So that's kind of how I focus on my videos in real estate, and I talk all about real estate on my videos. I think that what people miss is when people come to you, they're looking for intel that they can't get from somebody else. You can Google anything. You want to look at house porn, you want to look at beautiful houses. That's easy peasy lemon squeezy. Where your value is, where your unique value proposition is your expertise, your intelligence, and your ability to interpret what the client wants and give that back to them.
Amazing answer.
Thank you. That was my beauty pageant answer. That's the interview section of this program.
Of the pageant.
Yeah, I didn't bring my bathing suit though.
Next time.
Next time.
Okay, so we're gonna kind of move things into more of a design and interior design aspect with Michel. I have a prompt up here. What are your luxury interior design tips for resale value? Luxury being the key word. And then I'm gonna move on because I have some images from projects that you've done in the past. So if you just want to start talking about how, when you start a project, to really, if we want to focus on resale value, what are you looking at?
What I said earlier, to be perfectly honest with you, decide what's important for resale value, where we want to concentrate our dollars. Number one is the kitchen. That is the biggest upgrade you can make to your home. If it's an older house, if you redo the kitchen, you will get so much more money for your resale. Same thing with the primary bath. I mean, there's so many technological updates, that have happened over the last few years, and if you are current with those kinds of things, that helps a great deal. If your house considers things like pets, wash stations, pet feeders, things like that, all those little bells and whistles help a great deal. And a lot of modern conveniences in the kitchen too. We are doing things like recessing range hoods now, as opposed to having this big hood, which sometimes is beautiful, but it's really cool to have it in the ceiling and look just like a vent return. It's really cool. Those kind of things are really, really changing the game for us regarding resale and adding value. During the pandemic, I think 3 houses, we took the entire back off the house and just did all glass and iron, which huge difference, huge dollar value add. And
natural light that comes in. I feel like natural light is a huge component of resale
100%.
as well. We don't even have to talk about resale, because resale sounds like such a throwaway word. But how I'd like to reframe it as, how can we make your house sparkle? How you make it stand out from all the others.
well, that's Glennda, you throw glitter on the wall.
I am just, do you know, if you could have, you guys probably saw it better than I did. His visceral reaction to me throwing glitter on the wall, it was like, oh dear God.
They saw it.
She is such a redneck. He's like, she is such a redneck. Sorry.
They saw it.
Go right ahead.
You cannot be more country than me. You just can't be, right? But I haven't done that yet, but I applaud.
I can show you how to do that.
applaud your authenticity and you're willing to take risks. Yeah, I do. But yeah, I mean, adding additional light or allowing light to penetrate the house and wherever you can is a fantastic way to add value and also get people excited about purchasing your home. In the image that you're showing right now, we talked about adding color in a way that is strategic, but still feels really customized and personalized. Art is the way to go, right? This room is otherwise incredibly neutral. It's classic wall covering. It's, what do you call it? And like antique mirror. And, but we take a lot of risk when it comes to lighting. I found these guys at ICFF. This is a little shop in Brooklyn that makes incredible lighting. So that is like really specific to our client. And we're showing the buyer here in Georgia things that they haven't seen. Whenever you can introduce your clients or a potential buyer for your home to something new, it's always a good thing, right? And that is the biggest thing for me when I'm walking through a house with a client, is if it's builder-grade lighting. I don't want to offend anybody, but that is a huge no-no. Like, that does not speak to having anything custom, a designer coming through, or you having a point of view at all. But that's why we have jobs, right? So if you took away the urns on the table, if you took away the artwork, it's incredibly neutral and anyone could see themselves in that room. It's those accessories that make it specific to my client and my point of view.
It's stunning.
Thank you.
Tyler and I were sitting here and we were like, oh my stars, that is perfection.
Thank you so much. Is
love,
it shiny enough?
Do you know what?
It's the right kind of shine.
Okay.
Well, and this is the thing, is a lot of people think that, you know, sparkle and shine is tacky. But this shows perfectly how you can take that type of luxury and make it classic. From the pedestals on the table and the way it ties back into the fixture, the light fixture, and then how that plays off of the wall covering. I mean, I'm a real estate agent, you know, I sound like a designer, obviously. But to me, I make my mouth water. It is gorgeous.
We're gonna have to work together, Glennda.
Me and you.
That's it.
It's like sparkle and shine, baby.
I'm into it. I'm into it. I'll be honed, you be sparkle. We'll balance.
Do you know what? So can I say something?
Go ahead, please.
So this is so funny. So
Now she asked for permission.
Yeah, like she was gonna stop me.
Right.
But anyway, so y'all, I did this video and I'm like, you know, I saw this sparkle wallpaper, or I was talking about wallpaper, and like, it's not your grandmother's wallpaper, and if you take it down, then you've got to be really careful. But if I did sparkle wallpaper, I would do this Philip Jeffries. I had seen it on the internet, blah, 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 blah. So, like, I didn't really think anything about it. I mean, I'd just seen the wallpaper on the internet. And so I get this voicemail. Hi, Glennda, this is Shauna with Philip Jeffries. And I'm like, what? And I listened to it again, I'm like, oh! And they're like, we saw your video. And that's actually kind of how I got here with Philip Jeffries. So we are gonna do like my foyer in sparkle wallpaper, and we're gonna feature, and you're gonna feature it, I think. And then, yeah, this is me being Jenna. You're gonna feature it.
Yes, there she is over there already.
Jenna told me that you were going to feature my foyer in your magazine.
When is it going to be done?
When is it going to be done? No, but I'm telling you. So like, that's I mean, here I am, some random real estate agent, and I talk about some wallpaper. So think about if you're a designer and you put behind like your expertise, your talent.
Video is a powerful tool for us also. It's incredibly powerful.
I was going to ask that. Like, I know I've seen it work so well for real estate agents. How, like, I feel like you use video a good amount on your Instagram and things. How can designers utilize it?
I'm becoming more partial to video. Honestly, for me personally, static images don't do as well. People want to hear from the expert, and they want to hear the story. Like Tyler said earlier, they want to hear the story behind why you made the choices that you did. And I really believe in controlling the narrative, especially with my work. And so the opportunity to have to share that narrative with people who are following or potential clients. All clients stalk your Instagram, by the way. Having the opportunity to do that and create that narrative.
I stalked y'all's Instagrams.
It's probably one of the most powerful tools you have in your tool belt, and a real asset.
Awesome. Okay, well, we're going to move on to next. I have another example. If you do want to go neutral route, I have using texture to spice up a neutral. It's kind of using your personality in a different way other than color. Michelle, if you want to speak on that.
Full disclosure, these images were taken for Crate and Barrel.
Oh.
So they look a little, extra commercial. But this is actually my studio. And I just changed it during the pandemic. I wanted everything white. And just that feeling of space, and I wanted the opportunity to be creative and not have anything in my interiors interfere. And I moved to this level because it's full of natural light. So all the walls are white. We kept the floors the way they are. So everything is incredibly neutral, right? But that floor has enough going on, enough movement, enough texture that I was happy. So that the only thing that I did in color is that curved sofa in the back. Another huge trend that's really cool to see, I added the arches in. Also, there are 3 arches that weren't there before, just adding to the architectural value of the space. And so just creating interest there where your eye can dance around the room as opposed to covering it with accessories and overdoing it and so forth where you can't see what's happening in the room. Even the books are covered white. I am done with gray and using browns differently, not chocolate so much, but maybe caramels and cognacs and so forth because it's rich and timeless. Even in the chair, we have white, but there are wood accents just to add texture, and a nod to natural elements are really important to me.
Did you match the pillow to the wood accents?
No, you know what? I have a thing about men's tailoring also. That pillow is actually a herringbone fabric, right? Suiting fabric, and no, but it just works that way.
And it brings out the color in the floor. Just almost like the coffee bean color.
Almost like a designer did it.
You are so sassy. She's like, I mean, it might be like sparkle and sass.
I accept.
I love it.
All right. Next, we have smart investing. So I actually pulled this from your Instagram, and it was part of a virtual show house that you did, Michelle. Let me remind you. And this was a space that you transformed. It's a gym and a wellness space. So I kind of want to talk about not only multi-use spaces, but like investing a good quality in these spaces, kind of new areas to the home.
I've been having conversations a lot lately about your house being all-inclusive, right? The pandemic taught us a lot about making your home super efficient, that you don't have to leave. And so having a wellness space /spa/gym at home is a huge asset, and I think it could really help with resale value too. But I just didn't want it to feel like it was detached from the house. I still wanted to have a design point of view there. The idea of putting paneling in the gym is that's my take on luxury, but that's how I see the world. And of course, there's wall covering outside, a little bit of green. I'm obsessed with green right now, so that's a PJ grass cloth there. Just bringing some life into the space. Again, just natural elements. That's green grass and white walls and wood. I mean, it feels like you belong there, right? And that was a fun space to design.
It's interesting to me because when I was looking at this gym photo originally, I didn't know that it was a gym because it's so covered in wood. I didn't even notice that was like a rowing machine. And so kind of incorporating something that's kind of a throwaway space like a gym and making it more design savvy.
It's my obsession with libraries. Everything English and paneling and so forth, but made modern. It doesn't have to feel like granddad's space, but you can take some elements that you loved from him and make it yours. And we do a lot of that here in Georgia with the older real estate, really capitalizing on the things that are historic, that add value, that make the house special, not like new construction, but still putting your spin on it. And here's an example of how to do that.
Updated heirloom of sorts.
Yeah.
Updated heirloom style.
An
Okay.
updated heirloom.
An updated.
This is just more examples of some multi-use spaces that Michelle has designed. This is interesting because black is a neutral, and it's a different, like a darker neutral to use instead of using white. In our minds, we use white, tans, those kind of color palettes. But both of these are darker spaces.
This panel does not need permission to use black walls or throw glitter or paint the rooms
This,
purple.
honestly, that
Yeah.
looks just like my city living room. Like
funny.
I have black walls, cream furniture.
What's the name of the black?
I use Farrow and Ball off black in the city, and then in the Hamptons, and then in the city I have Farrow and Ball black blue.
People think of multi-use spaces immediately as like a home office, right? I didn't want to send an example like that. We all have those. This is actually a lower level, like a terrace level, but we kind of incorporated the wine cellar, theater, and like a living space all together. So that's what you're seeing, those small images. One wall is all slabs, upper left corner, from our friends at Timmer. In the center, that image is just how we incorporated the wine cellar there. It's all these incredible reds, and simply done. You know, we're doing like really expensive cellars, but this client didn't want to invest in that. But this is the way we got all those things in one space, perfect for entertaining, that they don't have to leave the room, just multi-use.
Awesome. Next, we have a before and after, which this is kind of how we're going to end our program. And I'd like Michelle to talk about a project such as this, taking a space from the past to the future.
I'm looking at these things like I've never seen them. I am not a before and after designer. I do not share, but I don't like it.
And
but it's so popular.
we're not normally a before and after magazine.
Exactly.
So I think that's why I wanted to include this, is because we don't, in our publication, we don't do before and afters. So it is interesting to see a space before, and I'd love for you to talk about it.
So obviously, the right is before, I'm joking. The left is before, and it's just a traditional house in Alpharetta, right? It feels like Roswell, Alpharetta. Really good real estate, incredible house, but they are young homeowners from the West Coast, and they were like, we love this house, we hate everything about it. We're going on vacation, here's some money. So,
Praise the Lord and pass the money.
Canaan knows them. So the only thing we really retained were the windows and the beams, to be perfectly honest with you. And that's only because we didn't want to do the whole construction thing. But immediately we changed the floors. Those hardwoods had to go. The fireplace, while it's nice, it was not, not them, not their point of view. We're doing a place in Colorado right now. Maybe I do that there, but it's out of context for who they are, how they live, and how young their family is. So again, slabs up the wall, a more contemporary fireplace, much more minimal design, and the room is incredibly neutral again. These walls are white. The marble is just gray and white, very simple, but all the personality comes in the furniture. All those things can come right out, and we can sell that house tomorrow for much more than it actually paid for it. The texture on that sofa I'm obsessed with. I want to wear it every day. That's a sofa that I wanted myself, couldn't afford it, but a client bought it, so I feel gratified. I was able to sell them one of my rugs from my collection, and just injecting that color, that personality, is the difference from a boring home tour and one where you have a good time and you feel like, I want to live this way. I want to have some of these ideals. I want to live better at home than I do on vacation. And that's how we design.
Amazing. I think, too, you're talking about if we took all the furniture out, you could resell it. I think a luxury in being in the luxury market and living a luxury lifestyle is that your tastes change. So it also gives you the opportunity to, hey, I don't like this look anymore, to completely get rid of whatever's in that room and still have the basis there and bring in whatever your new style of the moment is.
Or move things around. Like with a neutral foundation like these, like most of the things that we do, I can move furniture from my living space to the den, to the basement, to the bedroom, and it feels like a new house. Right. It's the same furniture, but it all works together. The narrative is consistent.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Well, that concludes our panel, and I want to open the floor right now for a Q&A session. I know you guys probably have a lot of questions for these three, so we're only going to take about 5 to 6. So we're going to kick it off. If anybody wants to start, the floor is open.
All right, who has questions? Oh, coming.
Oh, and also wait till the microphone gets to you to speak into it so we can all hear you.
Thank you. I think that, thank you all. That was great. And, oh, you, in the middle. In the middle. Touch him again for me, okay?
This is Tyler.
Now, my husband and family, they're from Bridgehampton and Southampton. And are you familiar? You talk about old houses. Have you been to Teddy Roosevelt's house? Talk about antiquity. And the artist that lives in, well, he's buried in East Hampton. And he was, his
Jackson
house was
Pollock?
5,000. Yeah, Jackson Pollock. You've been to his
I'm
house.
so excited I got that right. I was
Go.
like, oh, yeah,
Yeah.
oh God.
You have to go. He bought that house for $5,000.
It just sold.
And it's just, I mean, fantastic, okay? Okay, I enjoyed everything. A house is very important because I live in Peachtree Corners, you know, despite this accent, okay? And I miss it. I can't, when I get home, I realize every time I leave my house, I miss it. Because the South has been everything to me,
That's amazing.
okay? I'm a tenement kid. Okay, one thing I'm gonna tell you, put you on the spot. Don't be ashamed. Hold your shoes up. He's wearing Christian Louboutin shoes. Show them. The red sole. We're taking turn for fashion. All right.
Listen,
And this was a last minute change.
it was.
wardrobe.
I was
Tyler's-
walked out in sneakers. And I was like, should I put on these?
Tyler's staying with me. Tyler's sleeping with me. Tyler's staying with me. And he goes, what do you think about these shoes? And I'm like, seriously, did you ask that question?
I know.
They're fabulous.
Tell them how they got that name.
I don't know how they got that name. Oh, I could make a story up though.
It was Cardi B. No, I'm just cutting up. Sorry.
All right, we're going to move on to our next question. Right over here.
Hi, I have a question for both Glennda and Tyler, actually for the three of you. When it comes to putting a luxury home on the market that has not has not kept up with the times, but you know that in order to unlock the potential resale value of that home, it does need some work, it needs some investment. How do you go about having those conversations with your clients in a way that is supportive and not, undercutting and not making them feel bad about what they've done to their house, but kind of helping them see the potential value and benefits in working collaboratively with the three of you?
Great question.
So I went on a listing appointment a couple months ago, and the house was built in 1996 and had not been updated since 2005. And my first question to the seller was, do you think that the person who buys your home is going to want to do some updating? Because I want to get a temperature check on their grasp of reality. And they said, oh yeah, absolutely. And I'm like, you've just bought a $2 million home. You've done some renovations to that home. How much do you think it's going to cost the buyer of your home to bring it up to 2022? Again, it's a temperature check on where they are mentally. And so I think that you've got to proceed with caution and compassion, because this is someone's home that they've lived in. And for whatever reason, they didn't do those updates or renovations, even if it is luxury. So I think that you've got to be cautious and compassionate. I also think that you need to give them a dose of reality. And I think that you need to understand who is the buyer avatar that's going to purchase that property, and pull in someone like Michel and say, can you do some inspiration design for this home? So when someone walks in the door, I have an objection handling technique to discuss with them. So I think that there's several levels, but I think ultimately you start with compassion for where that person is and why they're there, and asking questions.
Great answer. All right, we'll move on to the next.
Hold on.
Jenna can only run so fast in her little heels.
Thank you all so much. This has been fun and entertaining. Can you give some guidelines, any of you can take this, for a house that maybe, here's an example. You have a great piece of property. The house is not a tear down. How much can you deviate from the exterior, theme of the house? Say it's a Federalist style house, and yet bringing the interior up to date without compromising the integrity of the original style. You can put steel and glass windows in, those gorgeous windows, but it doesn't work in a Federalist style house. You don't want to paint it white, right? Because
Yeah, I know.
This is you, honey.
That's a tough question, though. That's a lot of conversation. That's that gentle conversation that they just referenced. And that's called transitional design, right? Like just a little bit of what's current and also honoring the architecture. It's a tough balance. You just have to be versed in both. But it can be done. We do it all the time. Honestly, you just saw an example of that. That house is super traditional, in its bones, et cetera. But our clients are really contemporary, but they bought that house. It's like, why'd you do that? We pull it off. You're just making more work for yourself. But if you fall in love with the neighborhood or the school district or the price point or the a potential for resale, there's so many reasons why they might choose said house. But just to get their personalities in there, just hire a skilled designer. You can do it.
Thank you. All right.
Hi, question for Michelle. With a client who has a moderate budget, I heard you speak about choosing the kitchen as when thinking about resale. But if you have the floors that are also a big issue, how would you weigh the two? And the budget can't handle both.
I think then we have to draw straws. No, everybody's priority list is different, right? If you asked me, I'd want my kitchen done first. But if you ask Tyler, he may say, "Oh no, these floors are terrible." But I think that I would be willing to buy a house with a brand new kitchen. Because I'm considering countertops, appliances, cabinetry, hardware, all those things, all those different costs, the amount of construction that has to happen, so forth and so on, and you weigh that against what it costs to change the floor, I think it's really just about you weighing the two options and list it out, and decide what works best for you. I think I could spend less money on the floor than I could on the kitchen. So I'd want the better kitchen.
All right, we're going to do one more question. Right over here.
All right.
Thanks everyone on the panel, but I just wanted to pose this question to Michelle. First of all, you're everything. I've watched your videos over and over and over again, thank you for all of your insight and your knowledge. My question to you is, how do you deal with clients or potential clients who do not turn over control?
I quit. No. That is tough. That's tough because I really have two answers. The real answer is that humility is incredibly important. When we first started, Jason and I worked together for many, many years. When we first started, we could not figure out how interior designers were so damn arrogant and just how could you be so because honestly, we're the help. This is a service industry. We're providing a service, luxury or otherwise. It's still a service. And so we have to add value in every space, and you can't add value being an asshole because people work with people that they like, right? And, I'm not always likable. I do my best, especially with clients, but, everybody has their days and times, right? Our schedules are tough, et cetera. But legitimately, I don't know. Tell me the original question again.
Stop thinking about being an asshole.
What I was saying to that is, from my experiences, you're right in what you're saying. However, I always say that if I'm not telling the client's story, I'm not doing my job.
The control.
Right, and so you turn over that to the designer, they will trust you a little bit more. So I just wanted to know if you run into that.
I think when it comes to that control thing, it is tough because it's their money and you leave. So ultimately they have to love it, right? But you have to show them or give them the benefit of the money that they're spending in your expertise. You have to show them what you want to do, but also explain why you want to do it. I never make a choice without a reason. And I'm always equipped to explain said reason, and I don't feel humiliated. I don't feel I don't know, belittled by answering that question for our client. I think that's part of the service, right? And it's work, so you're not always going to enjoy every part of the process. And you get in your car, you can do whatever you want to do. But like, you should be able to substantiate anything you ask them to spend their money on. And if they decide to go a different direction at the end, then you have given them the benefit of your knowledge, and you can walk away with a light heart.
Awesome.
Can I say something?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
So to answer your question, I'm going to tell you, I love to be in control. And when I believe in someone, when I have implicit trust in someone, I have no problem relinquishing control. And I think that you move into implicit trust and belief when you give people certainty and clarity, because it gives them comfort. Whether you're a real estate agent or a designer, bringing their vision to life, bringing their story to life is your expertise. And the ability to move them from that place of fear, this person, they don't understand what I want, they don't know what I want, what if they do something I don't like, comes with clarity and certainty. So that's what I would say. Not that the question.
You're right. I mean, the biggest part of being a successful service provider is figuring out how to get your client to trust you, and whatever their language is. But that's your job, right?
Yeah, and when someone, and you tell me, when someone believes in me, it makes the job so much easier. I worked with Jenna and her husband to sell their home. And I remember Jenna had so much belief in my expertise.
And Jenna's a control freak.
But she believed in me.
Are you here?
She believed in me. Her husband did not. Her husband wanted to list with somebody else. He wanted to give it to one of his guys. He did not believe in me. And she fought tooth and nail, and as we all know, you can't tell her no. And so I was the listing agent, but it was so much more difficult dealing with her husband because he didn't have that same belief in me. But when he did start believing in me, he was all in.
Yeah.
And so there's a transition when you give that certainty and clarity that gives them comfort, that helps them relinquish the control to your expertise.
And that never ends, right? You've been selling houses since Jesus was a baby, since Jesus was a teenager. And for me, I just started. But legitimately, that it doesn't stop. I don't care how much of an expert you actually are. You have to prove yourself every time.
Every time.
Every time.
Because Tom Brady, I mean, think about it. Tom Brady has to make the touchdown at every game.
Yeah.
Just because he's made 600 touchdowns doesn't mean that he's any good on this game. So you've got to bring your A game. You've got to be prepared to compete, and you've got to be prepared to be the best. So I guess we can close with that because I thought that was really good.
That was awesome.
I heard a finger snap. Did you?
We're going to take this fun upstairs.
Yes. We are inviting all of you guys to the third floor to talk to these three again and get some refreshments and celebrate. And I hope you all were inspired by this conversation. I think Discover and Design ADAC is such an important time to be inspired. So let's move the party upstairs and we can continue to be inspired. I haven't gotten yet, but yes, just